I'm Amelia Navarro, and the day I came home to find my veranda reduced to rubble was the day I stopped believing family meant loyalty. I pulled into the driveway after a work conference in Dallas, 3 days away from home, and saw the destruction before I even turned off the engine. Where my covered veranda had stood, the one I'd designed myself, with the cedar beams and the stone foundation, there was nothing but broken concrete, splintered wood, and a massive dumpster filled with debris. I got out of the car slowly, staring at the wreckage. My hands were shaking. "Amelia, you're back early." Vivian, my mother-in-law, came around from the backyard, wearing gardening gloves and a smile that made my stomach turn. "What happened to my veranda?" I asked. "Oh, I had it removed," she said, pulling off her gloves. "It was blocking the natural light to the garden. I talked to Derek about it last month, and he agreed it was an eyesore. The crew just finished yesterday. Aren't you relieved?" "Derek agreed to demolish my veranda?" "Well, he said you'd been talking about renovating anyway," Vivian said. "I just moved things along. You're always so busy with work, sweetheart. I wanted to help." I pulled out my phone and called Derek. He answered on the second ring.
"Hey, babe, you home?"
"Did you tell your mother she could demolish our veranda?" I asked. There was a pause.
"What? No. I mean, she mentioned something about the garden getting more sun, but I didn't think she was serious. I told her we'd talk about it when you got back."
"She hired a crew, Derek. It's gone. The entire structure is in a dumpster."
"Oh, God. Okay, I'm leaving work now. Don't do anything until I get there."
I hung up and turned to Vivian. She was trimming the rose bushes like nothing had happened. "Derek says he didn't give you permission," I said. "He didn't say no," Vivian replied. "And honestly, Amelia, you should be thanking me. That veranda made the house look dated. I have excellent taste in these matters." "You had no right to touch my property." "It's Derek's property too," she said, looking up at me. "And I'm his mother. I've been helping him make decisions since before you showed up." Derek arrived 20 minutes later, and I met him at the front door before Vivian could intercept. "How much did this cost?" I asked him.
"I don't know," he said. "Mom, how much was the demolition?"
Vivian came inside, wiping her hands on a towel. $3,200. I used the contractor who did my kitchen last year. He gave me a discount." "You spent $3,000 demolishing our veranda without asking me?" I said. "I asked Derek," she said.
"No, you didn't,"
Derek said, and I felt a flicker of hope that he'd actually stand up to her.
"Mom, you can't just do things like this."
"I was helping," Vivian said, her voice tight. "You said the veranda was old and needed work. I saved you the trouble of dealing with contractors." "I said it needed sealing, not demolition," Derek said. "Well, now you have a blank slate," Vivian said. "You can build something better. I'm thinking a pergola with climbing jasmine." "I don't want a pergola," I said. "I want my veranda back." "That's not possible," Vivian said. "It's already gone." I looked at Derek. He looked exhausted.
"Mom, you need to pay for this," he said.
"Absolutely not," Vivian said. "I spent my own money to improve your home. If anything, you should be reimbursing me." "You destroyed our property," I said. "I improved it," she snapped. "And frankly, Amelia, if you spent less time traveling for work and more time taking care of your home, maybe I wouldn't have to step in." Derek rubbed his face.
"Mom, please go home. Amelia and I need to talk."
Vivian gathered her purse and gloves. At the door, she turned back. "I'll expect an apology when you both calm down and realize I did you a favor." After she left, Derek and I stood in the kitchen, not looking at each other.
"I'll talk to her," he said.
"Talk to her? Derek, she demolished our veranda."
"I know, but she thought she was helping. You know how she is."
"How she is?" I repeated. "She's controlling and invasive,
and you let her walk all over us." "That's not fair," he said. "I told her no before. She just doesn't listen." "Then make her listen," I said, "or I will." The next morning, I called the contractor Vivian had used. His name was Glenn Portman, and he sounded uncomfortable when I explained who I was. "Mrs. Navarro, I'm sorry about the confusion," he said. "Your mother-in-law showed me the text messages from your husband approving the demolition. I wouldn't have started without authorization." "What text messages?" I asked. "She showed me on her phone. Messages from Derek saying to go ahead with the project." "Can you describe what you saw?" "Just a couple's text saying the veranda needed to come down and to coordinate with his mother on timing," Glenn said. "I assumed everything was legitimate."
I thanked him and hung up. Then I went to Derek's phone while he was in the shower. I found nothing in his messages with Vivian about the veranda. When Derek came out, I asked him directly, "Did you text your mother about removing the veranda?" "No," he said. "I told you I didn't approve this." "She showed the contractor texts from you." Derek's face went pale. "That's impossible." But it wasn't impossible. I knew exactly what Vivian had done. She'd faked the messages somehow, or sent them from Derek's phone when he wasn't paying attention. "We need to confront her together," I said. "Not yet," Derek said. "Let me talk to her first. If we both go over there, it'll turn into a war." "It's already a war, Derek. She destroyed our property." "Please," he said, "just give me 1 day to handle this." I gave him the day. He came back that evening looking defeated. "She says I'm being manipulated by you," he said. "She thinks you're trying to turn me against her." "And what do you think?" I asked. "I think she's impossible," he said. "But she's my mother." That phrase, "but she's my mother," was the moment I understood nothing would change. Derek would never choose our marriage over Vivian's feelings. I called a real estate attorney the next day. Her name was Monica Chen, and when I explained the situation, she was blunt. "If she showed the contractor fake authorization, that's fraud," Monica said. "But proving it would require the contractor to testify that the messages seem suspicious, which he won't do because it makes him look negligent. The better approach is to file a claim with your homeowner's insurance and let them pursue reimbursement from her." "Will that work?" I asked. "Maybe, but it'll take months, and your premium will probably increase. The real question is what you want out of this. Justice? Money? Or do you want to make sure she never does this again?" "All three," I said. "Then you need leverage," Monica said. "And leverage doesn't come from lawyers. It comes from understanding what she actually cares about." I spent the next 2 weeks quietly gathering information. I talked to Derek's sister, Paulette, who lived 2 hours away and rarely visited. "Vivian did what?" Paulette said when I called her. "That's insane, even for her." "Has she ever done anything like this to you?" I asked. "Not property damage, but she's definitely overstepped," Paulette said. "When I got divorced, she told everyone in the family it was because I refused to cook dinner for my ex-husband. She made me sound like a failure." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because fighting with Vivian is exhausting," Paulette said. "She'll play victim, turn everyone against you, and Derek will try to keep the peace instead of picking a side. It's easier to just keep distance." "I'm not keeping distance," I said. "I'm done being quiet." I also talked to Vivian's neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, an elderly woman who'd lived next door to Vivian for 15 years. "Oh, Vivian," Mrs. Kowalski said when I stopped by with cookies. "She's very particular about appearances. Always has been. She once reported my grandson's car for being parked too close to her mailbox." "Does she talk about her family much?" I asked. "Constantly," Mrs. Kowalski said. "She brags about Derek's job, about how close they are. She tells everyone you're too career-focused to appreciate what you have." That confirmed what I needed to know. Vivian's power came from her image as the perfect mother with the perfect family. 2 days later, I made my irreversible decision. I met with a mortgage officer and refinanced our house in my name only. Derek had co-signed originally, but since I'd been making the payments from my income, the refinance was possible with proper documentation. It took every dollar I'd saved, but when the papers were signed, the house was legally mine. When I told Derek, he stared at me like I'd slapped him. "You refinanced without telling me?" "The house was already in both our names," I said. "Now it's protected from your mother's interference." "Protected? Amelia, you cut me out of our home." "No," I said. "I protected what I've built from someone who's proven she'll destroy it. Your mother spent $3,000 demolishing part of our property without permission. What's next? The garage? The fence?" "You don't trust me," he said. "I trust you to love your mother more than you love our marriage," I said. "And I'm not going to let that destroy everything I've worked for." Derek moved into the guest room that night. Vivian called me the next morning. "What did you do to my son?" she demanded. "I protected my home," I said. "You manipulative, selfish woman. Derek is miserable because of you." "Derek is miserable because you destroyed our property and he's too weak to hold you accountable," I said. "I was helping," she hissed, "and now you've poisoned him against me." "I didn't have to," I said. "You did that yourself when you faked his permission." There was silence. Then Vivian laughed, cold and sharp. "You can't prove that," she said. "I don't have to," I said. "I just have to make sure everyone knows you're capable of it." I hung up and sent a carefully worded email to the entire family. Not accusatory, not angry, just factual. I explained that Vivian had hired a contractor to demolish our veranda while I was traveling, that the contractor believed he had Derek's authorization, and that Derek had never given permission. I attached photos of the damage and the invoice Vivian had proudly shown us. The responses started within an hour. Derek's aunt called him directly. His cousins sent messages. Paulette called me. "That was brilliant," she said. "Vivian's already doing damage control. She's telling everyone you're lying." "Let her," I said. "The contractor has records. The timeline doesn't lie." Over the next 2 weeks, Vivian's carefully constructed image crumbled. Family members who'd always enabled her started asking questions. Her book club heard about it. Her church group whispered. Derek came to me one evening, looking broken. "Mom wants to apologize," he said. "No," I said. "Amelia, she's embarrassed. The whole family is talking about her. She just wants to make things right." "She doesn't want to make things right," I said. "She wants me to be quiet, so people stop judging her." "Please," Derek said. "Can we just meet with her? Let her say what she needs to say." I agreed to meet at our house. Vivian arrived with Derek's father, Marcus, who looked deeply uncomfortable. Vivian sat on our couch, her hands folded, her expression humble. "Amelia, I owe you an apology," she said. "I overstepped. I thought I was helping, but I see now that I violated your trust and your property. I'm deeply sorry." It was a perfect apology, measured, sincere, exactly what someone watching would expect to hear. "Are you going to pay for the reconstruction?" I asked. "I think we should split the cost," Vivian said, "since it's a family matter." "You demolished it," I said. "You pay for it." "I don't have $3,200 to spare right now," she said. "Marcus and I have expenses." "Then you shouldn't have spent it on demolition," I said. "Amelia, please," Derek said. "Can't we compromise?" "No," I said, looking at Vivian. "You wanted to teach me a lesson about respecting your authority. Instead, you taught me that you'll destroy anything I build if you think you can get away with it. I don't accept your apology. I don't forgive you. And I don't want you in my house again." Vivian's face hardened. "Derek, are you going to let her speak to me this way?"
Derek looked between us, paralyzed. I think we should go, Vivian, Marcus said quietly. After they left, Derek turned to me. You didn't have to humiliate her. She humiliated herself, I said. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen. The veranda was never rebuilt. I had a landscaper create a stone patio instead, something completely different from what Vivian had destroyed. It cost $4,800, and I paid for it entirely myself. Vivian tried reaching out twice more through Derek. Both times, I declined. Derek stopped pushing after a while, and our marriage became something cold and functional. We lived in the same house, slept in separate rooms, and didn't talk about his mother. 6 months after the demolition, Vivian's best friend Carol stopped by while I was gardening. Vivian told everyone you were cruel to her, Carol said. But I've known her for 30 years. I know how she operates. She wanted control, and you didn't give it to her. I just wanted my home left alone, I said. She'll never forgive you for that, Carol said, for being the one person who didn't bend. Carol was right. Vivian spent the next year rebuilding her reputation by playing the wounded mother, rejected by her ungrateful daughter-in-law. Some family members believed her. Others stayed quiet. But every time someone new heard the story, they asked the same question Derek could never answer. If she didn't have permission, why did she do it? And that question, more than any apology or payment, was the cost Vivian couldn't afford to pay. I was watering the jasmine along my new patio when Derek came outside. He'd been distant all week, barely speaking. Mom's hosting Thanksgiving, he said. She wants to know if we're coming. I turned off the hose and looked at him. Are you asking me to sit at a table with someone who destroyed our property and refused to pay for it? I'm asking you to consider that family is complicated, he said. Family is only complicated when you let people get away with hurting you, I said. Derek's jaw tightened. So that's it? We just never see her again? You can see her whenever you want, I said. But I'm not pretending everything is fine just because she wants me to.
He went inside without another word, and I stood there on the patio that replaced what Vivienne had taken, surrounded by plants I'd chosen and stones I'd laid myself. The question isn't whether I should have been more forgiving. The question is, when someone shows you they'll destroy what you've built just to prove they can, how many times should you let them do it before you stop giving them access?